Today we're going to briefly explore the complex phenomenon known as conformity. So what exactly is conformity? Conformity is a type of social influence that involves one adjusting their behavior or thinking to align with the behavioral rules of a group. We all yield to this social influence to some degree. Social psychologists have explored to which degree a person will follow or rebel against the group. One of the earliest studies on conformity was conducted by psychologist Jennis back in 1932, in which his experiment involved a glass bottle filled with beans. Each participant was asked individually how many beans are in a bottle. They were then put in a group and asked the same question. As you would imagine, people's estimates are going to vastly differ in this scenario. However, when participants were in the presence of others, their estimates began to converge toward a similar value. So each of them were then asked if they would like to stick with their initial guess or change to the new group approximation. And almost every single one of them changed their answer to be closer to the group estimate. This study successfully demonstrated how an individual's belief or behavior could be influenced by the group. Perhaps the most famous conformity studies, though, were the line judgment experiments by Solomon Asch in the 1950s. Previous conformity experiments demonstrated how people would conform to the group majority when they were in a situation that was ambiguous or where the answer was unclear. But Asch was curious if he can change someone's judgment of the situation without changing their knowledge or assumptions of the situation. Asch gathered college students to participate in what they were told was a simple visual perception experiment. When the participant arrives, they are seated at a table along with a few others. Unbeknownst to this naive college student, though, the others at the table are in on the experiment. The experimenter will show a series of cards that have a standard line beside 3 comparison lines of varying lengths, and the participant is to say aloud which one matches the standard line. For the first couple trials, everyone gives what is obviously the right answer. However, on the third trial, something weird happens. Even though the answer seems just as obvious as the last couple runs, everyone starts giving the wrong answer. And this continues in the subsequent trials, so the real participant is left wondering, what is going on here? And they are left to decide whether or not to go along with the rest of the herd. So which one of these lines is closest to the standard line?
3.
3.
3. 3.
So, in good conscience, I should disclose that what I just showed you was not original footage from the Asch experiment. Instead, that was merely a dramatization. But at least you can appreciate the sentiment. So, what ended up happening? Well, some of the real participants also began to parrot the incorrect answer. In fact, 1/3 of participants gave the incorrect answer each time the group did. Overall, 75% gave the incorrect answer at least once. That means only 25% never conformed. When later asked why they had conformed, most gave one of 2 reasons. The majority of them said that although they knew the answer was incorrect, they went along with everyone else out of fear of being ridiculed by the group. Others began to question their own perception, reasoning that if everyone gave a specific answer, that must have been the correct one. These reasons represent what psychologists have identified as 2 major types of conformity: normative and informational. Normative conformity occurs when we conform to others because we want to gain approval or avoid rejection from a group. We are motivated to be socially accepted and to belong. This type of influence is chiefly an emotional process. Those from the Asch study who feared being ridiculed, they were victims of this type of conformity. Another example, if you've ever watched a performance that you didn't think was that good, but everyone else in the audience got up and gave standing ovation, you felt compelled to do the same because you didn't want to be that one who didn't stand up and clap, then you also have experienced this type of influence. Also think of peer pressure, fashion trends, body image, gender norms, your entire adolescence. These best illustrate pressure we feel from normative influence. Informational conformity occurs when we conform to others because we believe they have accurate information. In this instance, we are motivated to be correct. This type of influence is chiefly a cognitive process. When we're in a situation where we're uncertain how to behave, we often look to others for guidance. This is also known as social proofing. This most likely happens when we find ourselves in a new or ambiguous situation, like those from the Genesis experiment or those from the Ash experiment who began to question their own perception. Other examples would include proper etiquette at a restaurant, or if you ever traveled to a new country and adjusted your behavior based on what you observed from locals. Those are examples of informational influence. We look to others for guidance, especially if they seem more knowledgeable or more experienced. Here are some factors that increase rates of conformity. We all conform to some degree. It's in our DNA. It can be instructive or fuel our need for companionship, but it can also be quite insidious. By better understanding what compels human behavior, hopefully, can help us create a better future.